Hello everyone, and thank you for clicking this video. Very excited to show you this webinar which I recorded, how recruitment agencies and small agency owners can actually get more clients and enhance their business development process. So this is a really exciting one. I hope you can watch it all the way to the end. I've included some resources as well that will help you on your way and your journey to getting more clients. There's some checklists, some spreadsheets that also help you out. So I hope that's all useful. If you have any questions, please just drop me a message, but I hope you enjoy this one.
Hello everyone, and welcome to this video. And this video is going to be a presentation on how to get clients for your recruitment company or your agency in 2023. So this is a pain point of the market at the moment. It's tough doing business development. It's tough getting clients. So that's why I've devised a foolproof way which you can gain clients without putting too much time and effort in. Okay. Obviously it's going to require some time and effort, but this is a cost-effective and time-effective strategy to gain clients for your business. So let's get straight in. So who am I? So my name's Harry. I own HGL Marketing, a recruitment-based marketing company where we help recruitment companies with business development, helping them gain more clients with more efficient and more robust sales processes. So here's what we'll cover in this presentation today. So some of the key points are building trust, tracking data, finding leads, our email system, our LinkedIn system, some top performing scripts, meeting scheduling, and some questions at the end. So the goal of today's webinar is for every person listening or every person watching this video to learn something new about business development or client acquisition. So I will be performing this as a webinar, hence why it's got please ask questions and interact where possible. However, if you could ask questions in the comments and interact with this video and engage with the video, that'd be much appreciated. So let's get into the fundamentals of business development. So the traditional methods of business development are typically cold calls, networking, and referrals. So what is wrong with these methods? The issues are that they're slow, they're expensive, and they're labor intensive. However, they should not be neglected. These are still very efficient and very useful tools how to gain clients, and all of these methods have a time and a place. They just need to be tested, and we need to see if they're worth a while and which ones we can actually extract the most from with the least input. That is the maximum efficiency. So just a quick note as well about word of mouth. That's always going to be the best form of advertising, but it's not the fastest. So here we're seeing how can we get business in quickly and efficiently. So that may not currently be word of mouth. So how should we optimize our time and our costs to get clients? That is the big question. So let's boil client acquisition down into two main categories. Let's take a step back. Let's look at it in terms of inbound and long-term opportunities, or outbound and short-term opportunities. So you can see depicted by the amount of smiley faces here, inbound is a bit slower and a bit lower quantity to start. And outbound, we can reach a high volume and high number of people in a short space of time, depicted by multiple smiley faces. So no matter the method, be that cold calls, referrals, emails, or inbound inquiries, for any successful outreach or inbound, there is one thing in common that converts it. What is that thing? And that is the fact that we've built trust with the prospect. That's the most important thing by far. So how can we actually build trust? So first thing is to build relationships. Not just go with a direct salesy approach and just try and get sales as quickly as possible. We want to build genuine relationships for the long term. We can do this by giving away value, giving people value, giving people resources, and helping them out on their journey with whatever problems they may have. Another way we can build trust in our outreach and for inbound as well is to leverage case studies. So to showcase previous projects we've worked on, previous case studies, and the importance of those and why they've been so successful. Successful case studies will always build more trust in the mind of the prospect and definitely help them in terms of reaching out or replying positively to the messages. And the last thing is to be frequently visible. So always be around and active on social platforms or in groups and networking, because the more you're actually visible and you're active, the more likely people will be able to reach out to you, and the more likely people will start seeing your stuff and resonate with your message, and want to do business with you. It's called Stockholm syndrome, where the more you see someone, the more you actually grow to like them, and it's just a familiarity bias. It's one of our cognitive biases that we all have. You know, if you study psychology, so we want to try and leverage this with our social media presence and our networking presence to always be frequently visible to our prospects. So leveraging our case studies, that doesn't just mean showing results and saying we made X person happy by filling their hard to fill role, or we made this hiring manager happy. We need to actually go a step further and show the tangible impact, the real result that we actually made to the business. So how much money did we save the business in the process? How did that affect their efficiency 3, 6, 12 months down the line? And what did this do to their time to fill? We want to put actual tangible numbers and results to these case studies, not just adding a testimonial or a client review quote. We actually want to put in real numbers, as this will definitely convert better. For example, which email do we think will have a higher conversion rate? Email 1, which goes, we just wanted to reach out as we helped X company fill the hard to fill roles and would love to do the same to you. Fancy a chat? Or this other email. We saw you were hiring in the IT space. We understand how hard it can be to find talent that genuinely fits your company culture and makes a real impact. That's why we created a short presentation showing you how we placed X number of roles in 30 days, saving the business $10,000, increasing their operational efficiency by 10%. Do you mind if I send it over? That's always going to perform and convert higher for a number of reasons than email 1. But most importantly, the fact that we have tangible increases and tangible results associated with our result for our clients in the email. However, this not only applies to outbound, we can actually create sales assets that we can leverage for interested parties to book meetings. So this is the inbound method, and we can actually build trust via inbound as well. And this is through sales assets. So a number of examples of these are VSLs, video sales letters, newsletters, blogs, LinkedIn posts, anything that we can either put on social media, put online, and direct traffic to, that actually showcases our results and showcases us as well, that will convert higher and build more trust with the prospect. But these should always be orientated around your results and the value that you can provide the actual prospects with, not just talking about yourself. So here is the client acquisition process overview that I've created. It is the flowchart of how we can actually get clients for your agency and your recruitment company. So let's get into this. So as you can see, it all starts with business development, and we've got the two main categories, outbound sales and inbound. So to start with outbound, you can see that we've got email is one of the methods. We've got tier A and tier B prospects, which we will go into a bit later on. For cold calling, we need to target actively hiring companies because this is a more personal way to reach our clients or potential clients, and we don't want to be spending a huge amount of time cold calling companies that don't have that active pain point and may not be interested in working with us. We want to try and make this as targeted as possible, as we only have a finite number of dials and a finite number of hours in the day to actually do this. So we want to extract as much out of it as we can. And that starts by targeting the right people. And then for LinkedIn, we have manual targeted outreach and automated invites. So automated invites will be great to build our network, which will actually lead into the nurture campaigns. So that is through nurturing content, such as showing client results, doing webinars, doing free training, doing constant LinkedIn posts, podcasts, blogs, newsletters. It could be anything you post in your LinkedIn, but once you have this person in your network, they will constantly be seeing your content. So it's so important that you get them in your network in the first place. As for the manual targeted outreach, we will do that to, once again, actively hiring companies or companies we know have that pain point, and we can make this more personalized. Back-to-back tested, automated LinkedIn messages versus manual. And of course, as you would imagine, manual targeted outreach performs better. That's why we recommend it for our clients. All with the aim of getting positive responses, of course, that lead to book calls. Even if we get positive responses from our outbound sequences, we can still put them into our nurture campaigns. So if someone responds but they're not ready to book a call, we know they've got a positive response. We can have their email address, for example. This can go into an email list, or we may be connected with them on LinkedIn, so they'll see our content. They may be a follower of ours online, be that on LinkedIn again, Instagram, Facebook, any social media platform, and they can actually see our content. So even if they're not ready to book a call now, as long as we have them in our mail list, in our connections, or as a subscriber or follower, then the likely chances are that 3, 6, 12 months down the line, they'll reach back out to us when they're ready and we can book a call then. So as for the inbound sequence, obviously we've got inbound that can go out to our LinkedIn connections, mail list, and our subscribers and followers. So I imagine you already have quite a large network of followers and connections on LinkedIn, and you're probably not utilizing this. This is where the low hanging fruit is. This is where you can get the most effectively bang for your buck, get the most return with the least amount of input. So you want to start with the low hanging fruit. How can we do that though? How can we convert them? It's all just about getting the content ball rolling. The content will not convert prospects to clients or prospects to customers overnight. It takes a while. Once again, it's the familiarity bias, and the more we put content out there, the more likely people will be to convert and turn into paying clients. But it all starts with putting that content out there. So we've got to think of what sort of content we can put out there, be that client results, case studies, free training, LinkedIn posts. But I'd recommend all of these for a successful campaign. But whatever we test, be that outbound, emails, LinkedIn's, messages, or cold call scripts, or be that inbound, what sort of LinkedIn posts, we always need to meticulously track the data of what we're doing so we actually can make data informed decisions. Data tracking is absolutely key. For outbound, these are the things that we should be testing. For open rate, the positive response rate, and the appointment booking rate, these are the keys, especially for email. For LinkedIn and cold calls, it mainly be positive response rate and appointment booking rate. But these are the key pieces of data that we need to track to see which campaigns are performing best and which ones are actually giving us the highest return. This way, we allow the data to make our decisions instead of basing them off emotion. This is the number one key, most important thing. If we get a new script that we want to test, we test it for 2 days and we get a negative response, a lot of people, a lot of recruiters and a lot of agency owners will just change that completely and start from scratch and think, oh God, that script didn't work. We just gave it 2 days. We only reached out to 30 or 40 people. We need to be testing this script with at least 300, 400 people to see if it's actually converting. That way we can allow the data to make our decisions. The law of averages as well presents itself in unusual ways. So if we test a new script and we want to test it for a month, in the first week, we might get 0 positive responses, be a bit disheartened. And the next week, we might get 4 positive responses and be over the moon. Finally, be so happy that it started to work. However, the next 2 weeks after that, again, we get nothing. But the average for that is actually 1 positive response a week because we haven't changed anything to do with the list or the script. Obviously, if you change things in between, then that will be the cause of the differences. But if you kept everything the same, which you should be doing, then it's just the law of averages presenting itself. And that's why you can't let the emotions make your decisions. If you have 1 bad week of replies, it's very likely the next week will be even better because the law of averages always presents itself over a long enough time frame. So here's a tracking sheet that I've attached where you can actually track the success rate of your cold email, your cold calls, and your LinkedIn messages. So let's go into this. We've got KPIs for positive reply rate, meeting booking rate, and conversion rate. And we've got calls here. You can monitor how many calls you've done, positive replies, meeting booked, meeting done, and contracts landed. Got the same for LinkedIn messages and emails. So that will be provided in the comments. So the next part of the video, how to enhance your outbound strategies. So we've seen that outbound is a very key point to attracting clients and getting business in. How can we actually enhance these outbound strategies? It all starts with the list, because there is no point crafting the perfect message with the best case studies, with the best follow-ups, if it falls on deaf ears. There's just no point doing that. So what actually makes a good list? We need to be sure that the prospects we're reaching out to have an active pain point that we can solve. For example, companies that are actively hiring, they actively have jobs open that they need to be filled. Even better if they're struggling to fill them, which we can do by seeing on LinkedIn jobs, for example. If there's a job opening that's been open for 4 weeks or more and there's not very many candidates applied, there clearly is an issue there, and the company will be struggling to find talent for that role, so we can reach out to them. It's also important that the prospects fit our ICP criteria. ICP is ideal client persona, so they fit the persona of our ideal client. We need to make sure we have verified contact details to send to, verified phone numbers, verified email addresses, or of course their LinkedIn profile. And we need to know information about the prospect that others may not, and this will give us an advantage and edge. We can actually do this with some list building tools such as listkit.io. We can actually see what technologies some companies are actively using and reach out to them with hyper-targeted, hyper-personalized campaigns that actually play on the fact that we know what technology they're using. So, for example, I run for myself, I can find companies across the world that are actively using HubSpot. I know they're using HubSpot because the tool tells me they are. And I can reach out to them, ask them about their HubSpot experience, ask them about something related to HubSpot. And other companies may not be able to do this because they don't have this information. So it's access to information about the prospects that's hard to find. And that's why building a good list is so important. But we don't just want to create one list and rely on that. We want to spread it across 2 lists, across tier A and tier B prospects, which obviously mentioned in the email system of the client acquisition overview. So tier A prospects are high value prospects that have an active hiring need, which we put more time and effort into. Tier B prospects may not be actively advertising they have a job, but they may actually still be hiring. They may need some talent, but they're just not putting this on LinkedIn, Indeed, any other job boards, maybe due to cost reasons, or maybe they just haven't put it up there because it may be one role they need to fill. However, it's still worth reaching out to these prospects. Okay. So tier A prospects, how to find companies that are actually actively hiring on LinkedIn and how to find them at scale, because finding them through job boards can be tough, time consuming, and it's not the most efficient process. So we can use LinkedIn Sales Navigator to cut a lot of the time out of this process and get straight to the key decision makers at hiring companies. So in Sales Navigator, we can either search by leads, which is of course the people, or the account, which is of course the business. And in the account section, we've got job opportunities, and we can filter for companies that are actually actively hiring on LinkedIn. So we can see companies that are actively hiring on LinkedIn, and it will present the results here. From there, if we want to go a step further, we can also filter by companies that have had a senior leadership change in the last 3 months. Maybe we're looking to inquire about executive roles, C-suite roles, and that filter there is very useful. And we can actually find companies that have had funding in the past 12 months. This might be for startups, for example. And we know they've had funding, they may be looking to expand their team. So once we put that in and we've put in some extra information about our ideal sort of clients that we want to be reaching out to, be that company headcount, location, what industry they're in, maybe even headcount growth to see if they're a high growth company and they're growing actively, they may be more open to receiving team members. We can also filter by annual revenue, loads of other stuff on Sales Navigator. So it's an extremely powerful tool. We've got 2 ways which we can view the key decision makers here. The first method, which I actually prefer, is just to click on the company name. As you click on the company name, it will show you the employees, and then it will have a separate tab for the key decision makers there. And you can click on that and contact the key decision makers with a personalized message on LinkedIn. As soon as that's sent, you can go on to the next business. Next business, key decision maker, send a message, and keep going through the list and keep going through the process. There's also another way to find a higher volume of key decision makers at these companies, and that is that you can select all 25 of the businesses at once view their current employees. However, this is all of their current employees. So we need to find the key decision makers that will be the directors, owners, or partners. And we can do that by filtering with the seniority level. So with this, we actually keep all the account filters that we're on, and we just press lead at the top left. So this actually switches to the profile of the leads. And then of course we need to filter for seniority level, be that director, owner, partner. Once again, we can message them with a tailored specific message, asking about the open role or asking about their hiring needs, to try and get some business there. Other tools that are very useful for list building, SalesQL. So if we actually want to scrape the email addresses for these prospects, then SalesQL can help us do that. We just select 25 at a time, can scrape their email addresses and phone numbers using SalesQL. Apollo.io is great for building lists of tier B prospects, which we'll speak about in a second. Listkit.io is fantastic as well, as I've mentioned, for finding companies that are actively using specific types of technology, and you can filter for keywords. So a keyword might be hiring or staffing, or for example, any one of those keywords we can actually search for companies and leads that have that keyword associated with their social profile or their website. Then once we have the email addresses and the contact information, we need to verify it. There's no point sending to emails that we haven't verified. The bounce backs will be high. It will completely ruin our email deliverability and ruin our domain health. And a lot of our emails will probably just be going straight to the spam folder. So we do that using zero bounce. Then another tool, this is more an expensive one. We can actually filter by intent. So by intent, maybe companies are actively hiring once again, is Zoom Info. I personally don't use this one. So as I mentioned, next we'll go on to tier B prospects. So these are companies that may not actively be advertising their job openings. However, they're companies that still fit our ICP. So for example, if our ICP was IT companies between the ages of 1 and 3 years old with 50 to 100 employees, if they still fit our ICP but not actively advertising job openings, then we can find a lot more of these, because the likelihood is there's less companies that fit that criteria that are actually actively hiring on these job boards and on LinkedIn. So we can go for a higher volume approach here, and this is actually going to be a lower cost approach because it's not as labor intensive and as manual as the tier A prospects, but we can get away with this because tier A prospects are usually going to convert slightly higher. So we can actually build lists of tier B prospects and verify them using B2B databases such as Apollo and Listkit.io, which I've mentioned previously. So once we have these prospects, we've got tier A prospects. Okay, so once we have these prospects, we've got tier A prospects and tier B prospects. How do we actually reach out to them? So to do this, we need to reach out with a good offer. So we have 3 main things that we need for our offer to be successful, and it's some form of risk reversal to the client, social proof, aka previous case studies and previous results, and guarantees. What will they actually get? Guarantees and risk reversal may even just be sending blind resumes when we've interacted with a conversation. Of course, don't just send it straight away. But when we've interacted and engaged in conversation, it may be beneficial to send that because it just provides more social proof. They know what they're actually getting, which covers the risk and the guarantee. So that's a good method for that. So the main outbound methods, of course, this was in the client acquisition overview, but we've got email, LinkedIn, and cold calling, and it goes from a scale. So cold calling will be the most personal, but the lowest volume because it's the most labor intensive. And we can't get away with doing as much. So we need to strike a balance between these, between high volume email and lower volume cold calling. So how do we actually strike this balance? Let's talk about the email system first. So what tools you'll need to get set up on your email system. I recommend Instantly.ai for email sending. We can actually create multiple accounts on Instantly, get them all hooked up, all warmed up on Instantly, and start sending from there. I would also recommend using Zapier, which is a fantastic integration, which will automatically notify us when we've got interested prospects and interested leads, and Google Domains to buy multiple domains if we're looking to do high volume outreach on Instantly, which I would recommend to actually get more business. So once we've got all that set up, we actually need to create a campaign that will actually convert. So how do we do that? So here's my email framework, which I've seen success with. So we always go in with a short intro, which is good morning name. We never say hi because everyone else says hi. And that's one way to look exactly the same as everyone else. And that's not what we want to do. So we want to say good morning. Of course, this means we can only send our emails in the morning. So we need to set that up in the options of what time we deliver the emails. If you want to send it in the afternoon instead, just put good afternoon. But if we're looking to send that higher volume, then we want to keep this the same, just so it can swap out the name for each prospect we're reaching out to. We also want to include where we found them. So be that on LinkedIn, be that say we're searching for companies actively hiring in the area, be that if it was New York, say I found you when searching for actively hiring companies in New York and I wanted to reach out. And what we think their pain is, that's the next point. We need to actually, if we come across them and we can see that they're hiring, then we know their pain is they have job roles open that they need to fill. So that's the pain. We need to portray that. We need to say, we've seen that you have job openings. So we're both aware of that. And then we need to present the solution that we can offer to resolve their pain. So be that a candidate that would have fantastic tangible increases to the business that would provide a real big return on their investment to employ them, and other solutions as well. So point 5 would be a question to trigger a response, or a CTA, which is a call to action. So it could be something like, would you like me to send over some more information? Would you be interested in speaking about this further? But always lead with a question that inherits a response. And for this, you actually want to have a close-ended question, which will actually convert higher because it's frictionless. If we say, how do you feel about this? It's harder to respond to than, do you want to see more? Yes or no. People just want to respond quickly. They don't want to be bothered. And if they're genuinely interested, the best way to get them to do that is just make a decision quickly and get them to take immediate action, which might just be a response with yes or no. Also, something that we include with our emails is a PS line with key information. So this might be a really good result we've had recently, or part of our risk reversal, or part of our guarantee. The PS line in the email is actually 9 times out of 10 the first thing that the prospect will look at. So we need to make this super valuable, and if not, one of the most important parts of the email, and the email part of the email that will provide the most value. So here's a couple example of email scripts. I won't just go over them word for word. You can have a look. Of course, we've got some good personalization in there and some tangible results, tangible increases. This email is a bit long for my liking, so we could reduce that. But we want to keep it really short, really sweet. You see it's got PS as well. If this is about nurses, we can say, PS, we recently just filled a nurse in 90 days with X company. However, it's important to remember we don't just want to send one email. Follow-ups are key. There's actually a stat that shows 55% of sales occur after the 5th follow-up. So follow-ups are absolutely key. Now, there's a fine line between spamming someone with follow-ups and following up with them in an effective way. And the way that we make sure it's effective is by constantly providing more value at each step of the follow-up, each step of the sequence. So here's our follow-up system for email only. We actually send a total of 7 emails across about 4 weeks. Of course, that's if they don't respond. If they do respond, we take them out immediately. And if they don't respond by the end of that, we actually reach out to them 3 or 6 months later down the line, as their intent and their hiring needs may have changed by then. But we don't just want to ask if they've seen the last email and ask them to respond. We want to actually build on each previous email. So if we led with an MPC, a most placeable candidate campaign, or we led with some results that we've got for previous clients, we want to continue to add that. So we say, did we mention that we actually done this with cutting their cost by X amount? We could also include links to videos and send over documents that may be useful to the prospect. We just want to genuinely provide value to the recipient. We don't want to come across like we're spamming them at all. And as I mentioned, there's a fine line there. And the key to not spam people is actually to send much more value to the point where they actually want to reply to us. We're giving them away so much that they actually want to reply to us and have a conversation. And this is our multi-channel follow-up system. So slightly different to the email-only follow-up system, where we actually get to the third email. And if the prospect has opened all of the emails, then we actually go in with a LinkedIn message or a cold call, whichever part of the contact we can actually find. If we can find their LinkedIn but not their phone number, then we'll go over a LinkedIn message. If we can find their phone number, not their LinkedIn, then we'll go over call. If we can find both, then we'll start with a call and then send a LinkedIn message. We'll always go for the more personal approach first. But if someone's actively opening our emails, and we can actually see if someone's clicking on the links in our emails, be that website or Calendly links, then we can phone them as well, because they've got different intent to someone, of course, that hasn't even opened the email. So iterating and enhancing your campaigns, this is the most important bit. So after running your campaigns for 3 to 4 weeks, it's time to review your data and implement your changes to enhance the campaign. Now, I will say do not make changes earlier than this, because once again, if you make a change after a couple of days or even after a week, 5 or 7 days, it's likely going to be too early and you're not going to see the true data and the true results of your actual script that you're testing. So give these scripts enough time to run and see if they're successful. How should we actually enhance our campaigns? We just do this by testing. We test new subject lines, test new copy with new calls to action, new results that we can put in, and new lead sources as well. So if our lead source currently is Apollo.io, we want to test ListKit, do a duplicate of the campaign. Keep everything the same apart from the lead source. Has the responses increased? Have we got better results from this? If yes, then that lead source is probably better and we should move to that. However, if our metrics are within KPI and we're getting enough business, we're getting enough calls, we just need to scale. So that's just creating more email accounts. So if we've got an open rate of 70%, a reply rate of 5%, those are good numbers, especially for high volume email marketing campaigns. So we just want to keep pumping out more from those. Get more accounts, send more emails, and more will come in. Before we start sending out before we start sending out emails from our accounts, we need to make sure that all of the accounts are warmed up properly. So here is a framework for how to warm up your emails. First 2 weeks, if we buy a new domain, is warm up. Then after that, we'll send 20 emails per day per account, 25, 30, 35, 40. I know a lot of recruiters that are sending 100 plus emails per day from their work account, and this is a very risky thing to do, as it will harm your domain reputation and your emails will probably end up in spam. So I wouldn't recommend this. So now let's go on to the LinkedIn strategy. So for the LinkedIn strategy, having connections is key. Having connections is like having a private mail list. And these people will see your posts every day. You'll be able to message them whenever you wish. So it's really important that you build up your connections on LinkedIn. However, for people to actually accept your invite request, you need to optimize your profile. So this is the reason that LinkedIn is so powerful for outreach as opposed to email, for example, because prospects can actually put a face to the name and find out about you, what your previous projects have been, where you currently work, and more information about you by what you post before they actually reply to you. So they can do a deep dive, and this can't really be done on email. People can look at the second half of your email. People can look at the second half of your email and put it into the browser and check your website, but they can't actually actively do a background check on you so easily. So that's why you need to optimize your profile on LinkedIn. And I've included a profile optimization checklist, which I'll include with the documents of this video. So building connections manually can be time consuming because we want to send out at least 40 connection requests per day to build up our network. Just a bit about the numbers here. So if we send out 40 connection requests a day and we have a 25% acceptance rate, which is about average, we'll be connecting with 10 new ideal prospects per day. Over the course of the year, this is 2,500. And these people will be in our network and see our posts pretty much every day if we post. And that will be the goal. So it's very, very valuable just sending out 40 connections requests. It won't take you long. In case you miss it, there are some automation tools that you can use. Some tools are Dripify and meetalfred.com. So automation tools will not only save you time, but ultimately save you money as well. And they can also send out in-mails, messages, and sequences of follow-ups. So this is one of the key things about automation, why it has potentially slightly an edge over manual messaging, especially just for the softer approach. If we're going for a direct sales hard approach, we want to try and get more personal and have more personalization. But if we're just looking to build our network, then automation is fantastic and it can actually follow up with our leads. So if we send them a message, it will automatically follow up 3 or 4 days after if we plan it to, and then another 3 or 4 days after that, and so on. It's much harder to do that manually and track that manually. So that's where automation has its pros. However, once you have a LinkedIn connection, you must nurture them with content, because only 3% of the market is actually ready to use your service right now. We can't just neglect the other 97%. It's a huge number, huge amount. So we need to nurture these leads with content that we produce. So this leads on to inbound strategy. How can we produce content to convert prospects into clients? Inbound business ultimately takes longer to build up. So if you're looking for results tomorrow, you're not going to get it from inbound. It will take 3, 6, 12 months of every day using this to build up a good community and a good following. However, once you do have this, they're much easier to convert, and it is the more successful strategy long term. So forms of inbound business could be referrals, website inquiries, or inbound messages, of course, or inbound emails. Inbound business works a bit like a funnel. So at the top of the funnel, we have awareness. Everything starts at awareness or attention. We need to have awareness or attention for people to actually next get interest. Once they've got interest, some of these leads will have a bit of a desire to message us, a desire to learn more, a desire to reach out. And for some of those that have the desire will actually take action. And this will be with our calls to action and stuff. We want to promote and encourage people to take action to join calls with us. How do we start generating awareness for our business? Okay, it's not easy. So we need to post on social media, be that LinkedIn, Twitter, whatever your main social platform is. I imagine for most people it's LinkedIn. So we want to be posting on LinkedIn every day if we can. Blogs and newsletters are also fantastic. They can give insights to your business and insights to the industry, which others find very valuable. You can also create a community. So be that a page or a group on your socials, or actually a physical group on something like Facebook, a Facebook group or Facebook page. So building community is very important. Starting a podcast or video series is a very, very good tool. Now, this is a very labor intensive and time intensive one, and in the long run, it will give you good business. But to start with, it's very difficult to get started. So this is only if you actually have time and energy to put into content. Giving out resources to your ideal client persona and your prospects is always important as well. You just want to give away value. And then, of course, advertising. If you have the budget for ad spend, you can build and generate awareness by putting money into your content and putting money into Google Ads, for example. You may be asking yourself, what do I actually post? I'm not sure what to post. So some examples we've got are your lessons learned, weekly wins that you've got, reviews, testimonials, business updates. Ultimately, it can be anything that you think could actually add value to your audience. Industry news, anything like that. There's by far no hard and fast rule of what content you need to or you can't post. So it's completely up to you. But as long as you add that personal touch for yourself on it as well, people will resonate with it more. So here are some of the benefits to building up and generating awareness, because you may be thinking, it's a lot of effort, it's a lot of time I need to put in now. What's really the point? It will actually help us build more connections and relationships, which, as we've mentioned, will funnel down and nurture into more business. It also allows leads to move down the funnel. We can't get action, we can't get desire without having awareness and attention in the first place. So we need to have this awareness, be that posts, newsletters, blogs, anything we're putting online. We need to have the awareness to funnel them down into business. It also gives you authority in the marketplace. It gives you a name, gives you a voice. It also helps you learn more about content, learn more about what sort of posts you're putting out there that people are actually engaging with. So you learn about what people actually want to see. And of course, it helps keep yourself accountable with the stuff you're putting out there. Generating awareness builds up your brand reputation, and people start associating you with your results. Ultimately, you're delivering good results to your clients. You're servicing them well. Your clients are happy. We just need to post this. We need to make content about it, because people will start seeing the result you're getting and associate you with it. And that's a very, very strong powerful position to be in. So tools that can actually help you create content. We've got Metrical, which is scheduling software. So what I do is I actually batch create my content, about 5 to 15 pieces of content at once, which will go over the span of 1 to 3 weeks. And I just do that in one day. And then that's my content covered for the next 3 weeks. There's a Notion board of templates on Notion that will help you with stuff that you can actually create and content that you can out there. Canva is another good one for more visually appealing and attractive posts. And Taplio is a software that analyzes high-performing posts in your industry, in your niche, so you can benchmark those to create your own success. Once you're getting traffic through outbound or inbound, we need to make sure we're actually booking meetings from it. That's the most important thing. So Calendly is a great tool for appointment scheduling, and I would recommend it for everyone. But here's how to optimize your Calendly to get the very most out of it. So with regards to Calendly optimization, including a questionnaire that pre-qualifies your prospect is very important. Setting up reminders is also immensely valuable to reduce your no-show rate, and configuring your available days. So in terms of your available dates, we understand that once an idea is in the prospect's mind, they want to take action immediately. The longer we give them, the less likely they are to actually take action and convert on this. So what I do is I only have my calendar available for the next 4 days. And this is so when I schedule a call with someone, it's actively been in their mind recently. If I give them the option to schedule 4 weeks in advance, the likelihood of them showing up is significantly less, and the likelihood of them showing up and knowing what I'm talking about is also significantly less. So I've reduced this to 4 days. I recommend you all do something similar. Also, in terms of questions, you can add specific questions that help pre-qualify the call. So if you're booking quite a few calls, you might want to understand a little bit more about the prospect, what their current need is, what they're actually looking for, and you can ask questions around this in your questionnaire that will help them, will help you understand what to say in the call and lead the direction of the call ultimately. Once again, you can set up email and text reminders. You can set the timing on this to be 24 hours, 1 hour and 10 minutes before a call. That's what I have. It seems quite excessive, but it helps reduce our no-show rate significantly from about 16% to, we had about a 60% show rate. Now we have about a 90% show rate after implementing this. So it's definitely very valuable, and I would recommend that everyone implements that. There are some things to remember. So data is key. Let the data make your decision. That's the most important thing. Volume will always get you the most calls. The more messages you're sending out, the more calls you're making, the more emails you're sending out, you will book more calls. But it's also important to test and iterate your scripts. Don't just stick with one script forever, because ultimately there will turn a point when it doesn't work. Because everyone will know that it works, everyone will use the same sort of script, and it will be less successful. And creating content is a fantastic long-term strategy. I'd recommend everyone get started today, even if it's just one LinkedIn post a week, and you'll see traction start building, and it's very valuable for the long-term benefit of your brand. If you've got any questions, please drop me a message. Please drop it in the comments. I look forward to hearing your responses, and I'll see you all soon.